We're on page 14 or 46. Yedid nefesh avarachaman mishoch avdach el rizonav yarutz avdach imo hayal ishtachavel mol hadarach yerav lo yedidutach min ofetzu bechol dam Adonai Oziv Olam Nafshi chol adahavatach Anahel narefana la Beharola Noam Zivach Asin Chazek Betidrape Vehayetala Shichad Olam Batigemuna Orachamecha Vechuzna Halveno Habach Gizek Ama Nichzav Lirov Tiferet Uzach Anahelim Achmad Libi Hayachoshana Ve'aldid Alam Igalena Obraz Chaviv Alai Etzu Kadosh Elomach Tahir Heret Mikvodach Nagila Venis Mechabach Maherahu Giba Moed Vechoneni Kimei Olam Lechon Iranina L'Adonai Nariya L'Zoi Shenu Nekad Mafanam Betoda Bismiro Nariya Lo Arba'im Shana Gud Bedor Zalmar Amdoye Levaven Yehelo Yadu Derachai Asher Nishmati Be'avim Yevon El Menuchati Shiru Ladonai Shir chadash shiru ladonai kol haaretz shiru ladonai malchut shemo asru b'yom liyom Yeshuato sabru v'goyim kehevodo v'chol ha'amim nivleotav ki gadol Adonai umul al me'od norahu al kol Elohim ay kol Elohei ha'amim melilim v'Adonai shamayim azad v'hadar lefanav Hosbetim peret b'mikdasho Havul Adonai mishpechot amim Havul Adonai kavod v'hoz Havul Adonai kevod shemo Se'u mincha uvahol echatzrotav Ishtachavul Adonai Ehad Rakodesh Chilu mipanav kol haaretz Imru v'goyim Adonai malach aftikun tevel bahal dimot Yadin amim b'meisharim Yismechu hashamayim b'tagel haaretz Yiramayam ahum aloho Yalo sadaya b'chol asher bo Ay ishtachavul Adonai Kodesh gidlu mifana Lifnei Adonai kivaha lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel b'tzedek b'hamim b'emunato yanda hay randara hay Page 17 or page 51. Adonai malach tagel haaretz. Shama batismach in Zion, v'tagel b'not Yehuda, leman mishpatecha Adonai, ki ata Adonai elyon al kol haaretz, mi'on alet al kol Elohim, ohavei Adonai, sinura, shomer nafshol chasidav, v'yarishayim yatzilem, or zaru alat tzadik, u'nishrelev simcha, simchu tzadikim Adonai, v'yodu lezecher kodsho, mizmor shel Mashiach dash, ki neflot asau shel Lifnei Adonai kivol yishpot haaretz, yishpot tevel b'tzedek, v'amim b'meisharim, Adonai malach yagzu amim. 19 or 53, Yosef Kruvim Tanudas. Mishpat Sakama, Ramam Adonai Moshe ve'Aaron mekohanos. Ushmuel Bekore Shemo Korim El Adonai Zeu Yanim Bamudanan Yidaber Alehem Shameru Edotav Bechok Natalamo Adonai Eloheinu Hatanitam El Nosei Aitalahem Vinokem Alalilotam Romimu Adonai Eloheinu Vishtachavu Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Please rise, page 20 or 54. Nizmor LeDavid Havul Adonai B'Nehelim Havul Adonai Kavod V'Hozai Havul Adonai Gevot Shemo Yishtachavu Adonai V'Adrat Kodesh Kol Adonai Alamayim Melech Kavod Yirim Adonai Almayim Rabim Kol Adonai Bakoach Kol Adonai Behadar Kol Adonai Shober Arazim Vayishaber Adonai Et Arzei Halvanon Vayargidem Gmo Egel Lebanon Vesirion Kemo Venerehimim Adonai Chotzev Labotesh Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol Adonai Cholel Ayalot Ayay Ba Yechesov Yeharot Ubechalog Lo Homer Kavod Adonai Lama Habul Yashava Yeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Ozalei Ahamo Yitein Adonai Yevarech Et Amo Vashalom Ay 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 Tatir Serura Kaberina Tamecha Sagabenu Torenu Nora Ohanna Bekoa Gedulad Yemincha Tatir Serura Kaberina Tamecha Sagavenu Darenu Nora Hayaho Hayadai Page 21 or 56. Shamor bezachor bedibur echad Ishmiyanu elam yuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad L'shem ultiferet v'letila lechad odil igrad kala Pene Shabbat Kabbalat. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Likrat Shabbat lechuven elcha ki mekor averacha merosh mikedem nesucha. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך אדוני לקראת גאלה פני שבת נקבלה לך אדוני לקראת גאלה פני שבת Mikdash melech ir melucha Mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzi ay 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 lecha dodi ligrat gala pnei Shabbat nekabela Rav lach shefet be'emek habacha Rav lach shefet be'emek habacha vehu yachamol halayichem laho lecha adoni ligrat gala Pnei Shabbat nekabela hitnarim me'afar kumi hitnarim me'afar kumi oh livshi bigdei Tifartecha mi ay 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 lecha adoni ligrat gala b'nei Shabbat nekabela al yad ben Ishai beit alachmi al yad ben Ishai beit alachmi oh korba el nafshi gehala ay 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 oh lecha adoni ligrat gala pnei Shabbat nekabela Shir daberi Adonai alayich nigla lecha dodi hay hay ligrat gala pnei Shabbat nekabela hay 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 lo temoshi velo dikal mima tishtochachi umadehemi bach yechesu onye ahami v'nivneta Ir al tehila lecha dodi hay 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 legrad kala hay 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 be ne Shabbat ne Kabbalat hay 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 leshimta sho sahayik v'rachaku kol mevalayik yasis alayik Elohayik himsos Chatan al-Kala lecha dodi hay 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 legrad kala Pere Shabbat Kabbalat Yaminus multi baroti b'yed Adonai da'aritzi Al-Yaharish ben Parti ben-Niz Necha ben-Nagila Lecha dodi hay legrad kala Pere Shabbat Kabbalat Boi v'shalom ateret b'halaha Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola Toch emunei hamsegula boi chala boi chala lecha dodi hay hay legrad kala hay hay ne Shabbat ne Kabbalat hay hay nay 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 ya nay 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 hay 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 nay 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 hay 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 nay Page 23 or 59. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat. Magadlu Masechaya Mehoramku Machshibotecha Magadlu Masechaya Mehoramku Machshibotecha Od Yenuvim b'seba d'sheni v'rananimi ulagin ki ashar Adonai tzuri v'lo avlata bo Adonai malakein laveh Mikolod mayim rabeh Adirim mishpereyam Mikolod mayim rabeh Adirim mishpereyam Adir b'marom Adir b'marom Adir b'marom Adonai Adir b'marom Adir b'marom Adir b'marom Adonai Do tachanem nu meod Leveitcha navakodesh Adonai leorech yamim. A mourner's Kaddish is on page 62 or page 24. This week we observe the Yartzeiten of Esther Baker, mother of John Baker, Jonathan Metzke, brother-in-law of Suzanne Wise, and also Yeda P. Cavell and Leonora Simcha, who are memorialized on our board. May their memories and the memories of all those whom we recall be blessings. Once again, Mourner's Kaddish, page 24 or page 62. Excuse me. We don't actually have a minyan. So in lieu of Kaddish, we will add a psalm on page. We will add a psalm on page 80. Page 80 in Sim Shalom. Lulei amanti l'orod b'tuv Adonai beretz chayim kaveh el Adonai chazak v'yametz libecha v'kaveh el Adonai. Shabbos to everyone who's here. If you're joining us online, there's only 6 of us here, so please do consider joining us in the building if that's something you feel comfortable doing. It is a wonderful place to be on Friday night. I'll share a quick word of Torah with all of you lovely people and with you lovely people as well. So there's a pasuk where what happens this week in the Torah portion is basically we're in the midst of the Joseph story, and one of the main sort of turning points of this in the story is when Pharaoh has these dreams and doesn't have anyone to interpret them for him. This dream of the 7 fat cows devoured by the 7 skinny cows, and the 7 healthy ears of corn devoured by the 7 blighted ears of corn. And he's disturbed from his sleep, and he wakes up, and he calls to all of his master magicians and his courtiers and presumably his therapists, and asked them to interpret the dream for him. And the Torah tells us, "Vaisaper Paro lahem et chalomo." Pharaoh told all of them his dream. Ve'ein potero tam lefaro, and there was no one who was able to interpret them to Pharaoh. It repeats the word Pharaoh twice there, right? So Pharaoh told him the dream, and then it says, no one was there to interpret them for Pharaoh. So the rabbis in classic rabbinic fashion say, what gives? Don't we know they're talking to Pharaoh? Why does the Torah need to say that? And as always, the rabbis don't like extraneous words. So they say, it has something to teach us. And Rabbi Yoshua de Sachnin, B'Shem Rabbi Levi, says this, and I think it's a very profound teaching, and it's an ancient midrash. He says, in fact, there were people who were able to interpret the dreams. Ela shelo haya kolan nichnas be'onav, but rather, literally, their voice, didn't enter into Pharaoh's ears. And what he means by this, it seems, is basically that Pharaoh couldn't hear it from them. Right? They had these interpretations, but basically they were not delivered in such a way, or they were not interpretations that Pharaoh could actually hear. And he goes on to say, the first interpretations that were offered with the seven good cows represent 7 daughters that Pharaoh would have, and that the 7 bad cows represented the 7 daughters that Pharaoh would bury, and that the 7 good ears of corn are the 7 nations that Pharaoh would conquer, and the 7 bad ears of corn were the 7 nations that would conquer him. And basically, it seems the point of this midrash, which I think is quite psychologically astute, is that basically Pharaoh couldn't take this interpretation. I mean, this was not something that Pharaoh was really ready to hear. It was not something that Pharaoh was ready to hear. And then basically what Joseph offers him finally is something that is toned down or such a way, or is delivered in such a way that Pharaoh can actually hear it, which I think is a very important lesson. And it's a lesson that I think in my life I was taught sort of most forcefully by one of my teachers in Jerusalem, Richie Lewis, who goes by Reb Shmuel, and he's a teacher at the conservative yeshiva in Jerusalem, or he was at the time. And I remember I was in a class once with Reb Shmuel, and we were arguing about something related to the class. It was I believe it, and it says a lot about this story that I can't even remember what we were arguing about, but I can remember very clearly I was so certain I was right. And we were going back and forth about this thing in class, and I was so sure I was right. And another part of the story is I left this encounter also still being very sure I was right. Okay, that did not change. But what did change was this. After class, because I was so invested in this argument, I followed Reb Shmuel back to his office, and I kept on arguing until finally, I think I actually did convince him. Because he said, Ben, I think you're probably right. And then he said, now why don't you go be right by yourself for a while? Which at the time I think was a fairly harsh criticism, I think. But I think what he was saying, but how I understood what he was saying is basically that, well, right as I might have been, I was being so unpleasant that it didn't really matter all that much. And I think, I think one of the things about being a human being is, telling people things that they need to hear. It's part of loving people, and part of loving people and loving ourselves is being honest and saying things that we think are true, even if they're things that are difficult, which is what Joseph is going to do to Pharaoh. Joseph's interpretations of the dream are also not all sunshine. But we also have to figure out a way to say things in a way that people can hear, and we have to figure out how to say things in a way that people are ready to hear. And it's not always true, even as right as we are, it's not always true that it's wise to go on and on and on about it. And it's not always true that even as passionately as we feel about something, it's not always true that what that means is we should speak the loudest, or we should speak the most forcefully. It's not always that way. It doesn't serve us, and it doesn't serve those around us. And at least according to this midrash, what Yosef does, and the reason why he's so wise, is he finds a way to tell Pharaoh something that Pharaoh needs to hear in a way that can actually make a difference, as opposed to a way that's going to make Pharaoh shut down. And this is certainly a feature of lots of my relationships, and I don't always do it perfectly. But I do strive, at least, to integrate the lesson of Reb Shmuel and the lesson of Joseph into my life. And I would encourage all of us to do the same. Good Shabbos again. We'll continue with Ma'ariv. Once again, we don't have a minyan, but we will continue with Kriyat Shema and the Amidah, which begin on page 64 or page 20. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu kol ha'am asher Umavir yom umevi laila, umavir ben yom uben laila Adonai tzavot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chaleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hamari baravim, ahavat olam beit Yisrael. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו והם נגע יומם ולילה ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל אל מלך נאמן שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ואהבת Adonai Elohim Emet. Page 32 or 70. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu aleihem Oshem yamu bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba ve'amru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo tosef eleh Malchut Echara uvanecha boker yam lifnei Moshe zelianu ve'amiru Adonai imloch leolam v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov ugalo mi'ad chazal mimenu baruch ata Adonai al Yisrael Ashkiv Adonai Ushmor tzeitenu voenu lechem shalom eta v'yad olam ufros alenu sukat shalomecha baruch ata Adonai abore sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Please rise. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lazot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam hay beni uven bnei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom ha-shevim Shabbat v'inafash. The silent Amidah is on page 76 through 88 or page 35A or B. Please remember to include the additions for Shabbat Hanukkah and also Rosh Chodesh. Sim ve'ala purkan ve'ala gvurot ve'ala juot ve'ala milchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim ahem bazman hazeh ala nisim ve'ala purkan ve'ala gvurot ve'ala juot ve'ala milchamot she'asita lavotenu בימים ההם בזמן הזה. We will continue with Kiddush on page 49. You don't want to make Kiddush? Don't all volunteer at once. My goodness. All right. Thanks, John.
Do you need a tallis?
Page 49. No, you don't need a tallis for Kiddush. No.
Savrim.
Chaim.
Baruch Atadonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch Atadonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishana b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chagos. Baruch Atadonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishana b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kadsho ba'ava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaro l'maseh bereshit.
Ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta michol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Amen. Shekoah.
Grape juice.
The grape juice is delicious. It is an underappreciated juice. Not by Jews, but I think in the world. Page 51 or 98. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goy ha'ratza, v'lo samanu k'mishbechat ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu shenishma v'yaseh l'moshim. V'nehemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu hiye Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Well, I think everyone probably in this room is pretty abreast of the announcements, but there may be people at home who need them anyway, so it's always my honor to invite our President David Ash up to
You never know what you don't know.
give the announcement.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good evening.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. First off, the Kiddush sponsor tomorrow is Bob and Andrea DeRose Kahn. And this is in honor of Bob's 72nd anniversary of his bar mitzvah.
Wow.
All right, you guys can do the math. Okay? And of course, if anyone, we always need sponsors, so anyone who wants to sponsor an upcoming Kiddush meal, please contact Andrew Rothberg or any one of us, and we'll relay it. Okay? We're having a Hanukkah Lighting celebration open to the whole community, and that is on Sunday evening, the 5th, this Sunday, from 4:30 to 5 o'clock. It'll be outside, so dress appropriately. We'll have some light refreshments, I think hot cider or something of that nature, and donuts. Okay? Adult education is resuming on Wednesday via Zoom. That's the Lunch and Learn Chug. And the survey of theology has 2 more sessions, and that's on December 7th and 14th. And, okay, that's at 7:30 p.m., and that's in person here at the PJC. We have a save the date, and that's for the book group, and that's in person in the PJC library. That's on December 12th. It's also available by Zoom, and it starts at 11 a.m. And the book is Every Day the River Changes by Jordan Salama, one of our own. So that's really nice. Soup Kitchen, which Jill supervises. This is Thursday, December 16th, And we ask for volunteers to provide Sloppy Joe's rice and cookies and contact you for information. We still are running the High Holiday campaign. It never ends, right? So it seems. Though we've done pretty well so far. But anyone who hasn't pledged, please do. I don't think I'm talking to anyone around here who hasn't, though. And we also have the Scholar Stream program. That's offered by the Rabbinical Assembly. That's free of charge because we paid for it. Look in the weekly announcements for that. And I believe, is it this Sunday that Maryut is doing a program for children at the library?
It was this afternoon.
Oh, it was this afternoon. Uh-oh.
There was only one child, but...
Okay.
That one child was better than
One lucky child.
One lucky child.
One very lucky child got to learn something.
Thank you to Maryut for
Yeah.
really doing a lot of things.
Maryut is indefatigable.
That's true.
Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Have a wonderful Shabbat dinner.
Oh, one more announcement. All of you out there in Zoom land, tomorrow night. So I sent out an email shortly before Shabbos. This is a last minute thing. What's that?
I know the answer.
You know, I was, I moonlighted during the pandemic as an online game show host at My Jewish Learning and gave away fabulous prizes, mostly like social media shout-outs. Like if you won the show, you got a shout-out on 70 Faces Media saying, hey, you won the show. I'm reprising my role as a Jewish game show host tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. And all you got to do is sign on to My Jewish Learning, and it is a lot of fun. Come, there should be hundreds of people there, so test your skills about Hanukkah trivia. So, all right.
Is that a video?
No, it's a live game show. It's hosted on Zoom. It's like a quiz show. There's this. The game platform is called Kahoot, which is an educational tool that's in a lot of schools. But it's like an interactive quiz show. And I do, what's that?
Before we did something a few years ago? Something like that?
And no.
You have to answer the question, and if you answer correctly, you score points, but the faster you answer, the more points you get.
Yes,
Something like that.
that's right.
So
Yeah,
let's
that's
say
good.
we all answer correctly. Whoever answered first would get more points than,
Yeah, it's not only how right you are, it's how fast. That's right. That's right. Anyway, so check that out. Click the link in the email if you're out in Zoom land or here in the room. If anyone's interested, please play my game show. That would make me very happy. If someone from the PJC could win the game show, that would make me very happy. I'm not supposed to say that as the host. All right. I think instead of Yigdal, I want to conclude with Adon Olam for two reasons. One, I think Adon Olam is actually much more beautiful than Yigdal as a poem. That's just my opinion. But also, there's a great tune, and this is from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And we haven't sung any Joseph tunes through all of Joseph, which is my sin. We should sing those tunes. And this goes beautifully to Adon Olam, which is on page 54. This is the closing sort of tune, if you know that show. Adon Olam asher malacha beterem kol Yitzir nivra li nasa bechefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni. That's the children's choir part. Leham shilo lehachbir al beli reshid beli tachlid ha belo haoz Yisra. V'hu Eli, v'chai go'ali, v'turchev li, b'yitzara. V'hu nisi umanos li minad kosi b'yom egra. B'yahado havgid ruchi beiti shan. Ve'ahira ve'him ruchi giviati Adonai li ve'lo ira. Good Shabbos, everyone. Go, Joseph, you know. Oh, that's such a great show.